Hi, everybody. It's Ryan from Pie Records, and I'm here with the amazing cover band, Just Like Them, and also What in Tarnation. How you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
Doing
Good.
well, thanks.
I just drove in from out of town. I'm tired.
Me too. I'm tired. Um, so first of all, I gotta say you guys are spot on with these tracks. And it's really fun to watch. You
Thank
have
you.
the guest vocalist on. Um, Covering an all song is a, a pretty tough order. Uh,
Yes.
what did you guys what made you guys want to do this? Take on such a big thing.
Well, I don't I'm not I think the beginnings of it were I had recorded me playing to a Descendants song, and I had posted it on like the All Descendants Facebook group. And Davi, which is not here, he's our guitarist and he mixes. He contacted me about wanting to do some Descendants or All songs, and we had already been doing What in Tarnation, right? At that point, or was that before?
No. That was before.
Yeah, that was way before.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
we did the one video, just us.
right, okay. Oh, yeah. So we did. We ended up doing When I Get Old,
Yeah.
and you sang Brad.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing we all did together, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
Yep.
Greg and I had already been talking for a while. Greg and I had talked for years.
Yeah, I've been posting covers of All and Descendant songs for years on my YouTube channel under Fuzzy Dust Mite. So Matt contacted me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a cover together?" I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." So I had done all the songs. I don't know how many songs, but a lot of the songs on bass prior. But when Matt contacted me, yeah, we started working together and tried to figure out the whole send audio back and forth and video back and forth. And then he like he said, he talked to Davi, who lives in Brazil, and they hooked up. Luckily, Davi owns a recording studio in Brazil and knows what he's doing as far as mixing and
Yeah,
mastering.
he's awesome.
He's amazing at it. And so we record the audio and send it to him, and he does his magic.
Yeah. And Brad sang the first song that we did. And we were like, I wonder if we can get other singers, to join us. And we just, and some people say, yeah, and they're all about it. And some people we don't hear back from. So,
Yeah, and then Scott replied, I think, pretty quickly, that he would wanted to do something, but he wasn't really wanting to do the Descendants and All stuff. Just, he's
Right.
lived that life for however many years, and he had those health issues in the middle of the spring last year, and he thought it would be kind of funny to do double vision because the stuff he had going on left him with some vision issues. So he thought it was just sort of a kind of a funny play on what he was going through by Foreigner. So we did that one, and then I think we all just kind of realized, man, this is really good. Like this turned out a lot better, I think, maybe than we were expecting. And Scott was like, cool, let's do another one. So that's kind of that's where What in Tarnation sort of came from, was, we just sort of kept releasing stuff. We'd say, okay, well, we've got this one done. Now what? And everybody would just throw a song in the hat and we'd pick one and go.
And I think a lot of people appreciated the fact that we kind of kept it true. The song, we didn't punk it up or make it fast or anything like that. We played it kind of like the record, originally.
Yeah, with our touches.
Yeah.
I totally heard that one, and I was like, listen to Scott go, man. It was crazy.
He's incredible.
How
that guy can sing anything.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, he could. He could sing the ingredients to the back of a Manwich can, and I would enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
So how did you get other, how do you get other singers involved? I mean, obviously, your playing is so accurate, that would be my first assumption. But how do you reach out to somebody that may be in the band and get them interested?
Usually it's like Facebook Messenger or Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just take a chance. And so like and I've known Scott for many years, and like we've talked, you know, over the years and stuff. And so when I originally asked him, you know, it was a little bit easier because he knew who I was and everything. And but I think since then it's just been kind of luck of the draw, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whoever responds.
And also the more we go and put stuff out,
yeah,
I think just having those names attached to the project also sort of helps, you know, it's kind of like a snowball effect, I think. But then just, you know, the quality in general, you know, people see that we're putting out, or at least, you know, we're trying to put out very, very good quality songs, and we're not just sort of like half-assing it, sort of.
yeah. There's a lot of bad covers out
Treat
there.
it like it's a true studio song. You know, there's lots of mistakes that get fixed and punched and edits, and Davi is just so amazing. You know, we could throw anything in there and somehow he makes it sound like magic. So he's just really, really good at what he does.
Yeah, it was kind of scary, you know, starting a project like with the stuff with Scott. It was a little easier just because it's songs we've heard our whole lives, and typically radio songs aren't too difficult. But then you get into All in Descendants, and it's like a whole new ball game, especially all songs. And I'm kind of afraid, you know, someone's gonna want to do one that I just absolutely can't play on drums, and you know, I'm gonna have to be very humbled at that point.
And I think
But luckily
we're all very much perfectionists too when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, if Matt misses a ride cymbal thing, he's like, I'm just gonna re-record the whole thing. You know, like one tick, and it's like,
because it's not worth it. Because there's a bunch of covers out there that, you know, they and they're good covers, some of them, you know, but they may change up the song a whole lot and kind of put their own flavor to it. And I personally, I don't really like that, I guess. But some of this stuff is cool. But then there's just a lot of, we were trying to make
with
it
All in Descendants, there's not a whole lot of covers in general, just because
yeah.
the songs are so hard to play, like as a whole, you know. So it's a pretty big project to tackle.
It is. Yeah, we've got ourselves into something that it's tough. Some of the songs are really, really, it's funny because some of the songs are really hard on guitar, and it'll be like super easy on drums. Like
Just perfect.
Super easy on drums, and then the guitars are going crazy. And then some are like, you know, easier guitars, and then the drums may be a little more crazy. So
and then poor Greg's just got the hardest bass lines in every song ever.
Yes. And he plays them like no problem. And Davi, he knows every All in Descendant song on guitar already.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So,
That's insane. I definitely get the impression that All is one of your favorite bands. It's one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite. I don't want to say over the Descendants, but there's something special about All to me.
yeah.
Tell me what brought you together to honor them and do them justice.
Well, Brad and I are actually we live in the same town in Texas. And you were asking what brought us together?
Yeah, like what was the inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Brad and I have been huge All fans and Descendants fans for a long time, and he and I, you know, grew up. You know, I guess we were about 16 or 17 when we kind of got into them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Greg, he's like super old, so
you young whippersnappers.
He was probably in the Descendants at one point. No.
They're older than I am.
Yeah,
so.
he's probably known Descendants and All way longer than we have, you know. And then Davi, I don't know how old Davi is.
He's probably around your
I always feel like Davi's in his like early 20s because he looks so young.
I think he said he was early 30s.
Okay, but you know, he just knows, he's just kind of a natural, you know. And then with modern technology, we can just do whatever we want, and it doesn't matter if Davi's in Brazil and Greg's in Arizona and we're in Texas.
And our singers in Israel or Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so cool to be able to have that ability.
Yeah, we're still getting used to the fact that people even want to do anything with us.
Mhm.
These are all our heroes.
Because we're just we're just like four regular dudes that, all of a sudden are put out there working with people that we've been, just totally in love with for the last 25, 30 years, so it's super weird, and very, very cool. And we've become, I would say friends with the vast majority of the people we've worked with at this point.
And these are people that Greg will go, who are they?
A lot of them are, yeah, because there's, I love Descendants and all. I prefer all over Descendants, actually. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I find myself listening to all more.
And I don't know why that is. But I was in a band called Gee Whiz, and our guitar player Kevin Carl has been friends with Bill since like 86 or so, just because he was a huge Descendants fan, and so he's been talking to him and going to shows. Every time they come into town, he hangs out with them, and so that's how I sort of got to know them through him. I never really hung out with them or talked to him or met him until just a few years ago, really. But I've been a fan since forever, and I think it's just the love all four of us have for them and their music is kind of what inspired. We just thought it would be fun to do it, and so we did it, and then it sounded good and people liked it, and we kind of went from there as far as keeping going and getting other people to do it.
Yeah, I think people appreciate that we try to make it sound similar as much as we can, because that's not an easy thing to do for the most part. I didn't even know how it would even work. I wouldn't even know if we'd even be able to pull it off, because it's
Well, why would you want to change the All in Descendants songs? I mean,
yeah,
they're so great by themselves. A lot of people take the classic rock stuff and change it and punk it up or speed it up or make it heavier or whatever. And we haven't done that with the stuff we've done with Scott. We kept it true because they're great songs, and we just want to kind of obviously if it's a mandolin, we don't have a mandolin and we're going to play it on guitar or something like that. But other than that, we just keep it the way it is, and maybe speed it up a hair, or the guitar sound will be a little different, but we try to keep it the same.
Usually the guitars are a little more beefed up, right? Like
yeah.
But Scott's into that as well. He wants to keep it as close to the original as possible, because so many people do the punk classic rock songs or punk pop songs, or they'll take a cover and make it punk, and when the original is great as it is, so why not keep it the same and let Scott do his thing as far as the what intonation stuff.
And there's a time and place,
and he just puts his flavor on it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy sometimes when I hear like a punked up version of a song. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But I mean, there's just so many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we just kind of decided to keep it as true as possible with what we have.
So I found you guys originally on the All Descendants page on Facebook, and it's one of the only pages I think that's dedicated to them, that there's just true fans. The band interacts. It's a great medium, a great space to actually interact with everybody who's fans, because All, I think, has very specific fans as opposed to the Descendants. You guys want to talk about that community?
Yes, somehow I was made a moderator of that group. So I'm like I'm approving all these things. I'm like, well, how did this happen? And I finally found out who did it. I'm still trying to figure out why I became a moderator. But no, it's a great group. It's people tend to behave in there, and it's just a lot of old flyers and pictures and stuff nobody's seen before, which is really cool. Like someone posted a picture the other day of Frank and Tony and Milo and Bill, and it almost didn't even look like them. But you see filmage and you see like the same picture of Frank every time. And I'm like, oh, there's a new picture of him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a great community because it's all, it's fans. It's obviously a private group, so not anybody can get in there and, post garbage and, troll stuff, so they keep it, moderated well. And so that's what you have in there. I mean, obviously people have differing opinions, oh, I don't like this singer, or I prefer this album, or this album is terrible. People have their opinions, and they're more than welcome to their opinions, but everybody keeps it civil. And it's obviously everybody's a fan of, most, if not all of their material. And so there's always stuff to discuss. There's always, like Matt said, people finding new stuff out there, a new video that somebody uploaded, or a video that maybe has been out there for 6 years, but only has 45 views on it that somebody found of an old show. And, and like you said, the band interacts, they'll comment, they'll reply and say, oh yeah, well, this was the story behind that. Or somebody will ask, Stefan, what are your guitar settings on this record? And he'll reply and say, well, I use this amp and I did this and this and
That
this.
makes it special.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It makes
totally.
it special because you can actually have an interaction with the members of your favorite bands, and they reply and they're cool about it, and they're very humble and down to earth, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's
Cool.
there was an interesting discussion the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, where Stefan was talking about Alroy Saves, and I always thought kind of the similar thing he was talking about with how it sounded sonically, but the songs are just so good on that record, and Just Like Them is on there. So do you agree with him, or how do you feel about that?
On which album did you say?
Alroy Saves.
Save.
Oh yeah. It's funny. Stefan I actually trained his dog recently, and he was over at my house, and Brad was there, and he was talking about that album. Remember, Brad?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was kind of talking about how they kind of screwed up that one just because they didn't have they went to a studio that didn't have a lot of good stuff. And he was talking about one particular part on Educated Idiot where it goes fast. He said they put there were gates all over the drums, and when it goes fast, it made the hi-hat kind of go. Then he's like, that's just not natural. Like, it just sounded weird to us. But I mean, that's how it was put out,
And that's what he said. He goes, that was like the technology at the time, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the time and the other recordings that were happening, like it was like kind of a common occurrence, I guess, at that point in time in history of recording. So, it's not necessarily anything to their fault, I think is kind of what he meant. It was that's just sort of how they did things when that was recorded.
I think the drums sound the most different, because I think they were just kind of experimenting and doing all these things, at the time. And I like it for just how weird it is, it sounds different, and the songs are kind of weird, and the timing changes, and a lot of the songs are strange. They're hard to play. So plus, Scott kills every song.
Yeah.
One thing I find really cool about them is that every album sounds different, is completely different in tone and in writing. And I there's just not a lot of people around where I live that know who All is. Certainly in Philadelphia they do, but in the smaller towns, no. But talk about maybe not your favorite singer, because I don't believe in asking that question. But what was your favorite album sonically and maybe songwriting wise? You can each answer.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. For me, front to back, my favorite album is Revenge. It's it's the one that I think is 100% start to finish an amazing album. I love Saves. I love the weirdness of it. I love the songs. I love, that's my favorite. If I had to have like a favorite like album front to back, is Revenge. Saves has my favorite songs on it, as far as just, I don't know, the weirdness appeals to me.
Me too. I think the one I fell in love with, first was Revenge, of course, because every song is on that is good. But I think the one I find myself listening to more, and it's because it's not as accessible and I don't have the CD version, is Pummel. I just really like that album. It's kind of dark and very well done.
Yeah.
I find myself going back to that one most for some reason. I don't know. I love Chad's vocals on it, and the quality of the songwriting is just very good. It's like relatable, and but yeah. So Revenge was my first love, and Hummel's probably my like overall favorite.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys on Revenge too. I think that one holds up. Just the uniqueness. Like every song really does have like its own feel to it. But in the same token, like Matt said, like I think my nostalgia one always goes to Mass Nerder, because that was like the first I can remember being in Matt's car or van or whatever he had at that time when I was like 15, 16 years old, hearing all for the very first time. It was Mass Nerder.
That was my
And
old
like
truck.
maybe I don't remember, but I mean, I can visually remember being. No, it was a backseat of something.
Oh, okay.
Probably maybe your mom's van or something. But I can in my head still remember hearing Worlds on Heroin for the first time when that came on, and I had a cassette tape that had Everything Sucks and Unwritten Law. Blue Room, maybe it was an old Unwritten Law album, and it had Everything Sucks on one side and Unwritten Law on the other, but I didn't know either of the bands, and somebody gave it to me and I didn't know which band was which. I just remember listening to it, and like it was like months probably before I realized I was listening to the Descendants, and all that was like right around the same time. So there's definitely like a nostalgia thing for me about Everything Sucks and Mass Nerder, because those two came out so close together, and like that really was my discovery into the bands as a whole.
I think my discovery to the sentence was about 97 when I got Summary. I don't know. I think my friend burned it for me. Deedle, he's one of the guys who did Filmage. He made Filmage. He was in. He and I were in a band together for years, and he would always burn me CDs. And he burned me Everything Sucks, and he burned me Summary, I think. Like,
I remember that.
I may have bought Summary and he burned me Everything Sucks, because I don't think he was burning things in 97. Maybe he was. I can't remember when the technology became popular.
It's been so
I don't
long.
think it was 97. I think it was a little later than that. But yeah, I started getting into Descendants back. I think it was probably somewhere between Enjoy and All is when I got into them. And so, I've been with them since then. I'm a Scott guy as far as All goes, but I love Chad, all the Chad records too. I sort of tapered off towards the end of the Chad stuff. For whatever reason, I wasn't listening to a lot of music around that time, so I kind of slept on Mass Nerder and Problematic for a while. But then, obviously got back into them and really love them now.
Yeah, Mass Nerder and Problematic have really hard songs. No, I don't think anyone's record. I don't think any singer has wanted to do one off those albums yet. And when I listen to them, I'm like, those drums are so fast and so precise and so quick.
Yeah, I think they were getting into into their own as far as their recording and the technology and everything like that, and they just wanted to. I mean, from what I've heard, Bill always pushes Carl's, make it crazier, play crazy, kind of thing. So I think they were going for that frenetic energy, and just their ability to write and play such difficult things kind of ramped up as their career progressed. And
I kind of call Problematic Mass Nerder Part 2. Sometimes they sound similar to me, and like song structures and writing are very similar to me. They kind of sound similar too. I assume they were both done in Blasting Room.
Yeah, I think they did everything at Blasting Room after Breaking Things, I think, but I'm not positive.
I don't know. I can't remember when they started the Blasting Room. Maybe 95 or 6.
Well, they used the money from Interscope that they got to their advances or whatever to start the Blasting Room at that point. So
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
From that point forward, anything they've recorded in there. I could be wrong, but
That was the smartest thing that I ever heard a band do.
oh,
And they'll be the first to say that. It's like a complete 180 from what the Sex Pistols did.
What did they do? I don't know that story.
Oh, well,
Do it on hats.
Of the many record labels that wanted them, the first one I want to say was EMI, which is why they have that song. They gave them all this money to go record, and they just spent it on booze and drugs.
yeah. That happens a lot, I think.
They didn't even record.
Oh man,
They didn't put an album out.
you can't say that's not punk rock though.
So, I'd like to touch on Chad's band of Ultra Wake. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a little bit.
good. He's a hell of a guitar
is.
player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of funny. It didn't sound weird to me, but it was just Chad singing more to like a new school kind of type band.
Yeah.
Which I'm so used to him singing more like, more mid-tempo-y songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean some quick songs, but that's like, like real fast stuff. So it took me a little while to get used to. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's not the same type of music, but the precision of all, I think, is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't. Who's in that band? Are there some guys from other bigger bands in that recorded?
There are. I think they're all in like multiple bands. And
Yeah, it's almost like a super group.
Yeah. Well, that's why it sounds so good.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah, they all had that work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't listened enough to really have an opinion. It's good stuff, and I like anything with Chad. So
Yeah,
that tells you.
Well, I want to end this by talking about the documentary, Filmage. What a documentary! There's a lot of music documentaries, but this one really hit home with me. How did that one? How was that feeling when you see all of the descendants talking about their music, which could only have been done in this era?
Yeah, that was a cool film. I just watched it a couple days ago.
Yeah, I've watched
Prime.
it like on repeat recently.
Yeah. No, it's funny because, like I was saying earlier, Dino LaCour and Matt Riggle, who created that movie, I was in a band. I've been in a band with them since '99, and I was in a band with Deedle starting about '96. And so those guys are super close. And it was funny because if I remember right, one night after my band's practice, we were at Deedle's house, and they were like, okay, Matt and Deedle were there. They're like, we're going to make a movie about the Descendants and all. I'm like, wow. And so they kind of started jotting stuff down. And then right after that, Brad, we were all at Fun Fest when they started kind of really getting some footage.
Well, I think at the time that was going to be like their only show. Like they were reuniting for that show.
They were filling in for Devo, basically.
Well, but I don't think there was any plans for them to continue playing after that show.
I think Filmage kind of helped,
Yeah, well, in that show too. I think I've heard. I can't remember which one it was. They were like, "Man, this many people will still come and see us like now in 2010."
Yeah.
It's like maybe we can just kind of keep doing this. Yeah. So we were down there for that. You continue your story there. Sorry.
No, I was just saying. So Brad has a credit in it for photography. He did some filming, and then Deedle and I recorded a couple of like, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like basically we did a song that sounded like the Bee Gees and a song that sounded like the Ramones. It's kind of at the beginning when Keith Morris is talking about different types of bands that were popular, and so I got a music credit for that. Oh, wow. So Filmage is very dear to me.
Yeah,
it's I was watching it the other night and the credits were rolling. I'm like, there's my name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird to see.
Yeah, It's
I didn't
cool.
do anything
It was
on
a
it.
lot of our friends that made it.
Oh, come on, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are lucky because they're good friends with everybody that was made it.
Right.
I know some people that are in it.
Yeah.
My friend, my bandmate Kevin is in it for a minute. He's talking about why he loves them. But yeah, like you said, it's a music documentary that is, it's up there with any of the greats because it is such a comprehensive view of the entire career. It's got so much great stuff in it. It's got those little animations. It's got, different stories, and it's just great to hear the backstory behind so many things. And just you feel like an insider watching it because you're like, oh yeah, and okay, now I know what they're talking about. Oh yeah, that. It's just, and it takes you through the whole thing. It talks about their influence on, Dave Grohl, who's one of the biggest musicians going right now. And it talks about their influence on such a wide range of bands and musicians, and how they're often, uncredited or unsung heroes, because they were not in that huge wave of, the 90s punk. And when all the Fat Wreck stuff got huge, they kind of, they were before that swell. And so they influenced a lot of those bands, but they didn't always get the credit or the recognition or the, everything that they deserved. And so for that to come out and show them in that light, and show all the people that came after them or that were so heavily influenced by them, it's great to see them get that recognition and be presented in such a professional manner that you're like, oh yeah, this is what they should have gotten all the from the beginning.
Yeah. And big props to Deedle, Matt, Justin, and James Rayburn, who made that. I saw like all the frustration that they went through and all the time and energy. It was just insane. Something I could have never done. So props to them for making that movie so well.
Yeah. And I mean, and it follows such a great narrative. It's not herky jerky. It doesn't, leave big chunks out or skip over things. It covers the whole thing, and it does it so well. And it's got such a great narrative that it just, it just draws you along and takes you from front to back. And it's amazing.
Very cool. Before we get cut off, I want to thank you guys so much. I want to talk a little bit before we get off is where can people find you in your really rad covers of all of the Descendants. Tell me where people can find these videos and get in contact with you.
We just launched, like literally in the last few days, our official site, which is justlikethemband.com. And that will have all of our videos. It'll have the guest list for, all the different singers and other good, Stefan was in a video recently with us. So it'll have that. And then, when you click on their names, it'll take you to the videos that they appeared in.
Wow.
We've got a whole lot of stuff coming. There's 3 or 4, I think, that are pretty much done. And we're trying to maintain somewhat of a schedule of releases and not just sort of, throw 3 things out there at once and then have nothing for a couple months or whatever. We're trying to continually trickle stuff out. But all the videos will be on there. There's a shop. We've got some shirts and stuff people requested. So you can order some shirts or hats or I think we got a coffee mug and stuff like that. So all that's there, but it's justlikethemband.com.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we've got the YouTube and Facebook and stuff too.
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Like Them Official, I think, is the Instagram handle. So
I just want to I'm trying not to say the words, but I want to say thank you for doing this.
Sometimes we feel a little weird about it because we're like, well, these aren't our own songs. Like we can feel a little like self-conscious, but the responses are really great. So I think that kind of helps us get over that.
Yeah. Getting all those messages, people, when you'll see somebody say, I was having a really bad day and this just made my day so much better. And like, all these things that you see, all these other people always saying thank you for these responses. Now we're seeing those, and it really does. It makes us all feel really, really good, and makes us all worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, we're honoring our favorite bands.
Yep.
I think what makes it special is nobody's ever attempted to try to do this because it's so complicated and it's hard to do it justice, but you guys really managed to pull it off.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
We try
I
our
do want
best.
to I want to shout out to the DL guys too overseas. So that they're doing their own project, but they have the same core of people. But we all started doing this kind of at the same time. But those guys are really cool too, and they're putting out some cool stuff. So
Yeah.
it's neat to have a couple of these projects going at the same time. For the consumers.
Yeah, I
Their
follow those
benefit
guys
basically.
too.
You got a couple different people doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I talked to Manuel, I think is his name. I always make sure that we're not doing the same songs at the same time.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I follow those guys as well.
Good. Yep.
Yeah, they're really cool people.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, and have a great rest of your day.
Wait, thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Take care.